league is adopting general managers. We have the first trade in USFL history. We're catching up with new Bandits player Darrell Adams Jr. and we're revealing some brand new Royal Retros jerseys. Up next on the USFL Podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing edition of the USFL Podcast. I'm your host, the Ref, representing USFL Newsroom, the number one source in USFL news. And as always, I'm joined by my man, Zach Kyleman. How you doing today, my friend?
In studio and ready to roll for another episode already. Once again, it's funny. We made that a joke last week, but now it's just kind of becoming a normal thing. Week over week, the news, it slowly flows in the USFL as the machine is churning up for 2023.
I mean, I feel like Nostradamus. I talked about it last week, and I'll talk about it again. Yes. I said I felt like October's when things might start heating up, and it feels like it hasn't even started heating up yet. It feels like there's something lurching in the background, just waiting to be revealed. But this week, man, we got some pretty big news, and I'll tell you, sign me up for finally getting that jersey out. Am I right?
Oh my God.
Am I right? I can't wait to go through it. I had a sneak peek because I had to open the package to send it to you. But I still have it in the package. I think you still have yours in the box.
Haven't touched it. My eyes tripled in size when I saw that come in the mail this week. So I am very giddy to open this box later on in the show. It is at my feet currently as we're recording, and I will be scrambling like mad to get this thing open to check it out. And just to reveal what player I got, too, because, want to represent.
I know. I'm excited to actually be able to use it. I've had it, and you know what? I'm a jerk for not sending it, but at least I tortured myself too. Speaking of which, we'll do things a little bit out of order here since we're talking about the jersey. If you want your own jersey, which we'll reveal later, but they have other choices as well, retro from XFL, USFL, World League of Football, all sorts of things. Well, good news is you can save 10% off using coupon code USFL Podcast, any purchase. So, get signed up over there, and you're about to see the quality that these bad boys are packing over there. Now, here's the real skinny. Social media at USFL Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go sign yourself up. We're especially, I'd say we're most live over on Twitter, but you still get the nuggets on the other channels. But if you're over on YouTube, go look at the subscribe button. If it's not clicked, click it. And here's the deal. Click the bell. It builds morale. It's going to make your day better. And it's going to let you know every time a new USFL podcast video drops. A couple weeks ago, maybe not so many. But the news is rolling. The videos are dropping. And as we get into the season, we're going to be doing more live videos, multiple episodes a week.
Oh, yes.
A week, Zach.
A week.
Oh, my God. You asked. We're going to deliver. And, we still got many months until we get there. But if you want to get prepared, if you want to get ready, do it. And like I said, you're going to get a little bit of morale along the way. And here's the little cherry on the top. Maybe a big cherry if you're the lucky winner. Once we hit 5,000 subscribers, you, the listener, the watcher, could win your very own USFL jersey. We're giving it away live, official from the USFL shop, a personalized jersey, so you can get whatever you want on there. I'm sure there's within limits. I'm sure you can't put a naughty word on there.
Yeah,
but if you want to put your name or your favorite player,
crazy, but
sign you up. We all have our limits. Even if the league lets you do it, I don't know if we'll let you do it. But anyway, which I'm sure they don't. But anyway, get signed up. The morale in itself, it's the off season. Oh, get a little bit of hype in your life. Man, I feel, Zach, it's funny. It's weird. I don't know what it is about this show. I was so tired before I even said, "Oh, who's hosting this week?" He said, "You." I said, "Oh my God, how am I going to get through this? I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to rock now. This is good."
See how that works when you do hosting? You pump yourself up. You might be down at the start, but once you get into recording, you get the flow. See, it all works out. Yeah. It's a little bit of a wake. It wakes you up. It wakes you up a tad.
Well, here it is. Here's the thing. I'm used to hearing the news. I'm used to writing about the news. I'm used to talking about the news. But even just seeing it in front of me again, I mean, we got some big flipping news this week, right? The news
good stuff
that the league is adopting general managers here, right?
Yes.
So we have the director of player personnel, the 6 that were still in the league. They're moving up into that position. And then we got some two hires here, which are pretty solid. And I mean, I think we have a little bit of some extra notes around it too, just from things we may have heard that we can kind of enlighten on. But let's start here. Let's go over the guys we have. So the Maulers, which Zach, man, we've been seeing them picking up people left and right. Right.
Right.
So
they're very active.
They're making another hire here, Lonnie Young. And then over for the Bandits, we have Dave Rosano. Now, Zach, I'm going to tell you, I'm glad you did this because you have some notes here that I probably would not have found. So I don't want to steal your thunder, but let's go some of the goodies that you found here because I think this is some interesting stuff hidden in here, hidden within the layers, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit here as we go for each one. We'll start off with Lonnie Young, which Lonnie, I mean, I'll admit he's been a little bit less kept of a secret. There has been some discussion on him. Actually, Jaron even talked about him in our last episode. So it's nice to get this official announcement as well as adding in Dave Rosano. But for Lonnie Young, Young's journey is pretty interesting in football. Was drafted by both the USFL, the OG one, by the way. We always reference the OG in this show as the old one in the 80s. He was drafted in 85 by the Generals, also by the St. Louis Cardinals in 1985. He then went with the NFL route at that time. Played for 12 years in the NFL between St. Louis and the Arizona Cardinals. Also was with the San Diego Chargers, the New York Jets, and had, well-rounded defensive back. He was able to play for 12 seasons. That's a long NFL career, and he parlayed that into a scouting career as well. In 2001, kind of began his NFL scouting career. His scouting career has worked in that department or in a capacity in that department for well over or close to 20 plus years. His last position was actually with the Baltimore Ravens with national scouting. And now here he is, an example of a guy that's going to be getting a little bit of a boost at the position, maybe a next level role. Meanwhile, you look at Dave Rosano, he's been basically scouting his entire life. In one way or another, that has been his capacity in the NFL. Some of the places he stopped at: San Francisco, St. Louis, the Rams, that is, back at the time, as well as the Arizona Cardinals and the Indianapolis Colts. His most recent position, he was the director of player research director of football research, that is, correction, with the Las Vegas Raiders up until the recent coaching regime change. And now he's here with the Tampa Bay Bandits. From basically gathering his background, if we're kind of comparing and also going off the quote that we'll read from Todd Haley, the two kind of interact with each other over the course of many years in the NFL. But specifically, if it's matching up correct, I'm pretty sure they work together with the Arizona Cardinals. Still fully trying to confirm that, but based on the resumes and the info I can gather, those two have worked together in capacity between the years 07, 08. That was during that Super Bowl run with Kurt Warner at the time. And yeah, I would say Todd has some good words for his new general manager. And honestly, Stefan, I would like you to do this. Here's something we got from the league just to clarify the structure. Because some of the naming's changed, but they want to say that it's not your traditional GM coaching relationship. It's kind of flipped. If you think about last year, it still kind of stays that similar vein with how the director of player personnel were looked at, if you want to explain.
Sure, Zach. I'd love to explain that. I didn't need to cut this video at all. So here's the real situation, folks. So when you look at the NFL, the coaches, they're reporting to the general managers. The USFL is doing things a little bit differently. When you look back to last year with the director of player personnel, they reported to the coaches. And they were really more in charge of the scouting. Moving into that general manager role, they're still going to be working on the scouting, maybe some more expanded roles and responsibilities. But at the end of the day, they're still going to be reporting to the coaches. It's a little bit different. I mean, but that's how you kind of want to do things with these spring leagues. You want to tweak, you want to test, because at the same point, like maybe somewhere down the line, this will change and become a little bit more traditional. But I mean, for now, if it worked last year, it works this year. And now I like the new titles too. You kind of have, I don't know what the right term is for it, but maybe a little bit more allegiance to your team. Hey, you know what? I'm a general manager now. We have maybe a little bit more funding. I don't know. This is not anything I've heard, so sorry.
Sure.
But maybe they have a little bit more funding, a little bit, because I mean, we've seen Robert Morris is a great example. That dude's everywhere, it seems like. And even just with the amount of guys that have come on since Lonnie Young has kind of been introduced to the Maulers organization, there's some things cooking. And maybe now with Dave Rosano down there in the Bandits, because I know there was some hemming and hawing from the Bandits crew of like, hey, well, why aren't there as many pickups coming? But we've kind of seen them start grabbing some guys, and I would assume that's because he's been lurking in the background as well. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the switcheroo here, Zach?
Yeah, I think it's to more designate roles to better fit the teams and make them more, I guess, a little bit more individualized than last season as well. Because the way that they also stress this in the press release, you know, they kind of give the hierarchy of the scouting and personnel department. Mm-hmm. So you have your 8 general managers at least former defense directors of player personnel for those teams that have now been converted to general managers. They are then going to be working closely with the USFL director of player personnel, John Peterson, who then works also with director of player administration, Jim Popp.
Right.
So that is the new format on how this works. You basically kind of goes up the rung a little bit. You know, Jim Popp's been kind of the main man heading up kind of the player recruitment efforts for the league to kick things off last year. Now you got a little bit more diversification on some roles. And really, I think you need it for, I think, the increased competition, but you also need it because the league's trying to grow itself. You know, it's not rushing and having to cut as many, if any, corners this year, you know, just because, you know, they have a whole year under their belt. Now they can start expanding. They can start spreading out a little more, doing more things that traditionally they can do with a whole season. This, I think, is one of them. And I also think general manager, you know, just in terms of title, I think it's a better, representation of what players want in terms of like reporting, in terms of like what you want in terms of relating to the team. The only thing that's different is that, you know, and I think it's just because spring football format, the coaches focus on the football. So they get to have the final say on the football. They also keep in mind, they're the ones that are knowing what their team needs and struggles the most. So the general managers will know that too, but they're the first contact to say, hey, I need some people bad that are like this.
Right.
I need some receiver help. Can you go look for? I need a young guy. I need like a speedster. I need a running back that's a bruiser. We can maybe do a thunder and lightning concept. I need a good tackle, a young tackle. Someone maybe got overlooked. This is what you are getting at. You know, it's basically you're enhancing your scouting department. They kind of retitled as well as kind of reorganized some pieces as well as new hires. And it's just a continued new refocused effort back on the scouting, which this has been going on for several months now. This is, to me, some of this announcement's more of a formality.
100%, yeah.
For the sake of it.
Well, and here's the thing. You know what this shows is that the league is evolving. We're seeing more structure. Rather than kind of step back, we're seeing the evolution, right? I've mentioned it almost weekly on this show. But let's go back to before the USFL ever played it down. Daryl Moose Johnston. Year 1, get on the field and get it done. Get through the championship. Year 2, improve. And that's what we're seeing here. We already know that there's either an extra hub, some more hubs. There's a hub situation in the works to where we're going to get more than Birmingham. You know what? So there's some improvement. This right here, more structure or more solidified structure or more balanced or written out. I don't know the best way to articulate that, but more structure at the end of the day, just from the administrative end, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we're already seeing players get signed left and right to where, man, you already have a pool of guys that, you know, that aren't going to make the final roster, but that helps in the fact of when that draft comes up because, you know, we still don't know. We know that there's players returning. We just don't know how many and how many, you know, how many players these teams are going to have to account for. So either way, this is going to be helpful in that hunt right there. And I mean, you can see it. Like you said, this is not something new. This is more of a formality, it feels like. But you can see it with the amount of signings that we have been seeing. It's been, I mean, we're almost up to 100 free agent signings. Almost up to 100.
Right. I mean, it's summer stockpiling. Honestly, it's funny now, you know, even New Orleans has had recent signings. The one that's been kind of lax lately, some people have said, is Birmingham, but I think their plan, you know, I'm feeling is that they feel they have a lot of guys that from that team that will return. So maybe they don't have to do as much because it's like, hey, we got our core. We have a championship roster here already. You know, if we need anything, we can maybe get it later on in the offseason right now. Because, I mean, honestly, the teams that need the most reinforcement, to me, you know, for the likes of the Maulers and you know, the Panthers, they've been doing a lot of active free agency. The Maulers in particular, Lonnie Young has jumped in and has kind of said, I'm just going for anyone and everyone that I'm getting requests from, whether it's Jaron Horton, whether it is, of course, you know, Kirby Wilson, who's running the offensive duties, remember. So they want they want at least the offensive side to improve greatly, which they've invested a ton in so far this offseason. And Rosano jumping in, you know, he started making more and more signings. The Bandits are starting to pick up the pace a little bit on some of these pickups. One of them is actually we're going to have later on the show that we have an interview with. I'll wait until we announce that. But just saying that, you know, clearly the focus is to get talent, and they are doing a really solid job, I think, getting guys in to at the very least compete in training camps coming up later in March. Should be a fun time. And also something I wanted to say that I am going to reconfirm myself. I look silly because, of course, the press release, we're going to read off these quotes. And the press release says, of course, that Rosano worked for Arizona between 06 and 09, matches up because Todd Haley worked as the Cardinals offensive coordinator in 2007 and 2008. So I did a lot of extra work for no reason and totally spaced that I had the press release to lead on in the first place.
It happens to the best of us. I mean, no curtains. That's why I love this show.
Yeah. What can I do?
So speaking of the quote, you want to go through the quote?
Yeah, we got two of them here, both from the head coaches. So of course, remember they're bringing these guys in to work under their own umbrellas. So Kirby Wilson here on Lonnie Young, quote, Lonnie Young is a proven winner in the NFL, and he's already making an impact as our new general manager, end quote, which, yes, as we've stated, very much already has signed on the most signings in the league. Kirby continues, winning a championship starts with player scouting and evaluation together. I look forward to working with Lonnie to deliver the USFL title to Pittsburgh Maulers fans. Bold statement. I hope that you are hoping that it is a turnaround, but boy, a zero to hero type of story would be fascinating.
I'm telling you, I can feel it they're definitely not going to be the Maulers of last year. That's all I'll say.
No.
But
they shouldn't be.
Boy, I mean, they could set themselves up to be trouble. Now, real quick, let me deviate. You know, I saw an article earlier this week, since we're talking about the Maulers and Kirby Wilson, that said pizza is more motivating than raises.
And so, that's a lie to me, but
I agree. But you know what? You know, Kirby, maybe have him a little slice or two, maybe. And you know what? Maybe that'll be a little bit of the key.
He had an epiphany in the offseason. That's what it is. He had an epiphany during the offseason.
Well, and check this out. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
I was like, some of his global travels. I mean, hey, I don't know specifically where globally because he's apparently internationally had been traveling this offseason. Maybe Italy. Maybe he stops at Italy or Greece. picks up a nice one from the corner plaza pizzeria and goes, my God, I was wrong.
Well, here's the thing. It's like a double win because, the article says pizza is a bigger motivator than getting a raise. Well, in the USFL, you give them the pizza. It gives them the motivation. You win the game. You get a bonus. And so, this is like a win-win. Kirby, my man. You know what?
Can you believe everyone's held on to the pizza jokes this long?
I'm just, you know what? Maybe just a slice. Let's see what happens game 1. Then we reevaluate.
Yep. Time will tell. They're getting, like I said, plenty of good signings. More still coming. And actually a bit of another development we'll talk next after I read off this Dave Rosano related quote from Todd Haley from the press release. Quote from Todd Haley, that is, I've known Dave Rosano for a long time through our NFL careers, and he is an excellent evaluator of talent and will be a huge asset to me and our team, end quote. Next quote here goes, I'm really excited to work alongside Dave as our new general manager as we build a championship team. This quote also mentions that, again, I overworked myself in even doing this. I should have never touched even going into my extra Google searches because it was simply right there that, yes, who is also the Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator during the 2008 Super Bowl team. They both worked in Arizona. I did too much work looking up this stuff going in.
Well, you know what? It just shows your dedication for the facts, Zach. So you know what? At least we had it just in case. But sign us up. But you know what? Yeah, an interesting twist here. Have a past working relationship. They already know kind of, okay, I know what Coach Haley, what he's really looking for, or at least you would assume having that. And like you mentioned, 2008 Cardinals, not a bad year for him.
No,
so,
not at all.
Could be another turnaround. Not that the Bandits were nearly in the position that the Maulers were in, but you would think that they want to at least get into the playoffs. That's going to be that's the hunt this year. And I would hope the same for the Gamblers, Coach Sumlin. Just saying.
Coach Sumlin, Robert Morris, guys.
Robert Morris is doing his duty, though. Like I said, it seemed like weekly for a while. He was at different training camps throughout the summer. So you know what? Can't fault him. He's out there. He's getting it done. So I'm hoping to see a couple more hires come through the gate. But if we can keep a good core of that defense, we're onto something. Probably need to get some, work a couple things around on offense, but we'll get there. The answer is always yes.
Absolutely. Here's I want to list off the other 6 GMs just because we're going to be mentioning something that relates to one of the other GMs that's not the new ones that are hired. So for your GMs that also worked alongside as director of player personnel last season, here's your list. So in New Orleans, you have Matt Bookmeyer, you have Billy Devaney for the Generals, Steve Kaiser for the Michigan Panthers, of course, Robert Morris, as we talked about, for the Houston Gamblers, who we've had on this show, Zach Potter for the Birmingham Stallions, and Michael Woods, who will be heading up with the Philadelphia Stars with Bart Andrews. So those guys are, like I said, they all are getting the new title and positions in this bit of the restructure, if you will, for the scouting. And we got to highlight Billy Devaney. He goes by Billy Devaney on there, but Billy Devaney is involved in a historical new transaction that the league has now set sail towards, along with Lonnie Young, because again, if it's got to be anything scouting wise and also with transactions lately, Lonnie Young just wants to be involved. He is just, he is getting anything and everything right now. So would you like to say what this is?
So we're going to call it a trade. The league, they call it a transfer.
Yeah, transfer.
Which I get, it's a single-owned entity, so is it really a trade? Whatever. We're calling it a trade. It's the first trade in USFL history here. This happened on the 20th, so on Thursday, the Maulers and the Generals social media pages announced that Generals wide receiver Jamon Moore and Maulers offensive tackle Isaiah Battle, which again, sweet name by the way, would be traded to each other's rosters, and I remember, Zach, going into season 1, that was a big question, especially with the hire of Jim Pop. Would there be trades in the league? I think there was some either via interviews or backroom talk. I think there was mentioning that there could be trades. As you know, we never saw one throughout the whole first season. But here we are in the offseason, keeping things interesting. And again, so we talked about the Maulers being heavy, but doesn't it make sense here? The Maulers and the Generals, because if there's any other team other than the Maulers, the Generals came in to the offseason hot, picking people up left and right. And so we can really see who the active, maybe more active scouting regimes are in the league so far, at least at the moment. Now that might change as we get closer to training camp, closer to the draft, closer to OTAs, things like that.
Right.
So you know what? Now that this is here, I wonder, is this the Band-Aid ripping off moment? Similar to when we saw the Generals start making some picks. It's like all of a sudden the other teams are like, oh, wait a minute. We can do that?
You would have to think that maybe you see some more. And there's some, we looked around last year how the league ended. There's guys that we've debate all the time in our Discord about like, hey, I wish that they could go here.
Right.
I wish that maybe we could balance out the league a little bit more by having some people distributed differently, across the other teams that maybe need certain position groups to be filled up better. And this one, I'll be honest, if I'm looking at like the face value, because we're going to have to analyze this trade a little bit, Jamon Moore for Isaiah Battle. I don't see a problem with this trade whatsoever, because if you look at the Maulers, for example, what was one of their positions they lost in NFL free agency during the offseason? Bailey Gaither. He went off and he signed and is currently still with, from what I understand, the Baltimore Ravens. Practice squad last I saw. So and Trey Walker hasn't been fully officially announced yet, but he's been stated or rumored to be coming back. So you generally want to have two guys that you can reliably throw to. Moore, he is the main target in New Jersey, but he had his moments. So you get a little help and reinforcement in that regard, more targets for your quarterback of choice, whoever that's going to be after training camp. For Isaiah Battle, I think you look back to really the semifinals. What was one thing that Philadelphia did an excellent job against New Jersey? They pressured the hell out of Luis Perez. They made his day a nightmare. They couldn't get anything done on the outside. Adam Rodriguez had pretty much whatever he wanted during that contest. So I don't see a problem. And plus, if you want to talk about generalizations for spring football, good tackles, good linemen, they're a dime a dozen. They're hard to come by. Battle was pretty solid for the Maulers from what I've seen and remembered from film. I think it's a solid trade in terms of what the teams need. And I'm looking forward to how they pan out. And plus the Generals, they actually just signed another tackle that's a big 6'7" guy that's been playing in the IFL the last 2 years. So they're beefing up that front five, and they lost a few key pieces too that were all USFL guys. It makes sense. They needed to fill those positions. Decent trade, and they still have receiving talent to boot.
Yeah, I think this makes sense for both teams. I'm just glad we see a trade. I'm hoping this opens the floodgates to where we see more trades, because there's a couple that you mentioned, Zach. There's a few that have been mentioned on our Discord, which, by the way, we don't give the Discord as much love as we should. If you want to go join the conversation with a bunch of other like-minded USFL and just sports fans, we have things for all sports, NBA, MLB, you name it, we got it. Click the link down in the description, because the Discord, this is one of the hidden gems in the whole newsroom ecosphere, is the Discord. I started it because I felt like I didn't want to do a message board, a Facebook group. Everybody already had one. So I was like, let me just start a Discord. Plus, I like chat. Chat is easy because unlike, with Facebook groups, there's so many threads and this and that. With chat, you tag me, I'm going to see it. Other way, I'll scroll through it at the point, but it's all linear, right? It's just all linear. Whereas the other pieces, it's too much for this old man. But either way,
I feel.
Jump down there, because I'll tell you, it's one of these things that we're only a couple away from 1,000 people from being in there, and it's pretty dang active.
It's been fluctuating just below 1K, and I'm like, it's going to break it soon.
Once a big story comes, that's how it always happens, Zach, is once I put out like a big story on Newsroom, then a bunch of people will join the thing. So, I mean, I look forward to the big hub announcement or something like that. Or, hey, maybe Coach Fedora's replacement and having that link in there. I think that will at least solidify over 1K. It always works in those bunches.
Well, hell,
like
I'm
that.
wondering I'm wondering how soon that's coming, because the Breakers have had 2 signings recently. So you got to assume that there's some confidence in a candidate that they are looking at, that they're saying, yeah, if we can lock down the details, this might be our guy. And you can advertise that to players. So I don't know. That's just speculate. That's like a speculation zone piece. But hey, what do I know? And hey, again, if you're not on that Discord, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, we talk about stuff like this all the time.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's one of them, and this is something I want to do, is like let's talk about some trades I want to see.
Right.
I think we've talked at length about the Generals quarterback situation.
Right.
You know, what do you do there? Luis Perez ended the year with some pretty nice stellar numbers, really good TD to INT ratio, the best in the league, actually. And, you know, he had a rough end go, but, you know, say he returns, which, again, everything's kind of up in the air with that. You know, it's kind of on a player-to-player basis, it sounds like. But say he returns. And so does, you know, DeAndre Johnson. Who do you trade? Or do you just keep the system? Because to me, I would let one of those guys go to a different team. You can get something back, and the team gets a quarterback that clearly has talent, one skill set or another. You know, Perez is a rock solid standard quarterback, starting quarterback. And then DeAndre Johnson has a bunch of upside with his athletic ability and some of his arm strength he showed off last season.
So
this was before he got injured and knocked out, that allowed Luis Perez to stabilize that job.
So here's my play. I don't know the third person involved. Three team trade.
Okay.
You send Perez down to Tampa Bay. You send Teamu to Houston, because I'm selfish and I want him. And then somebody gets a receiver in the mix, or maybe we give defense, right? We're stacked on defense. If we get a couple of those guys, I could see Haley being all in on that. Or maybe, I don't know. You could work something out there as long as Tamu. Sorry, I always get his name wrong. It's Tamu, right? Tamu. Why do I do that, Zach? I do this, and I know it's wrong. And I keep saying it, Tamu. I know that. Okay, anyway, especially if he comes to our team, I got to get it. Tamu. Send him to Houston. I feel like, because I'm selfish, that's what we deserve. But yeah, Perez, I think, will work pretty good for the Bandits. And then, yeah, you throw in some defense or maybe some receivers in the mix. It could be for a couple players all around. The other situation that we've kind of talked about in the past is, at the moment, the Maulers are stacked when it comes to the amount of quarterbacks. I think, what is it, 5? They have 5 signed at the time?
If everyone returns, they have 5 on the roster. So that is that's an insanely loaded room,
right,
to try and evaluate.
Which, I mean, a nice situation to have, especially because they're not scared of trades. We've seen that. They might be able to use some of these guys as bargaining chips. Again, maybe I'm not saying we're going to see multiple team trades, like a 3-team trade. Maybe that's a little ambitious, considering we just got our first one here, but maybe not. Maybe this is just the test, the example. Hey, it worked. Look, everybody has a little bit of experience on what the paperwork, because I'm sure there's something you got to sign. Somebody's got to sign something somewhere along the line. You don't just click a button and it happens. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Maybe.
But either way, I don't know. Maybe that's where we're headed here. I don't know. Zach, who would you like to see to go?
Well, another one, and I think he got lost in the shuffle. I think just how New Jersey became structured and with their offense, they hit the ground harder later in the season. You know, sure, Perez and Johnson had a stable passing game, but I mean, the Generals, they leaned heavily on Darius Victor and Trey Williams. Remember Randy Satterfield's first game?
Yeah.
I mean, guy went off. We all thought he was going to be one of the premier receivers in the USFL, and I thought he kind of fell off in favor of a few other options on that roster. If Randy's back, I say you look to get him traded to Tampa Bay.
And
I say this because Tampa lost some receivers. And one of my problems I had with Tampa Bay that I will keep repping this. They had drop issues all year long and could not bail Jordan Ta'amu out. Randy Satterfield has stable hands. He just wasn't getting targets later on in the season because I think the offensive scheme changed. And, well, different targets changed up too as the year went on. I think you trade him over to Tampa Bay. In return for the Bandits, though, that's where it gets a little tricky. I think this is where I then go, well, could you in theory trade over like a draft pick or something like that?
Right.
And that hasn't been even talked about yet really either. It's been only a transfer. But this is where I'd be like, yeah, trade like a late round pick for like Randy Satterfield's contract and then go use that for a young talent down the line or something like that.
For sure. For sure. You know, that is interesting too, because especially if you're the Maulers or the Panthers, you have some high leverage picks there. And especially the Maulers, hey, maybe, you know what? They signed so many damn flipping guys. Maybe they don't need that second pick in one of the particular rounds. Yeah, and you know what? A second pick is that's a nice one, man. That's not too bad at all. Again, you know, you're not going to probably get the star quarterback, but you could get you could get a Randy Satterfield off of a second pick.
Right. Well, here's another QB one we can bring up that I think's being discussed in our Discord recently. Another team has a bunch of quarterbacks. That's like a big question mark on what you do. The Panthers now have 3 QBs that all of them, I think you can make a case for starting next year. Some of them won't stick, and you might have a roster spot you want to fill up that is being taken up by that third quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, you know, maybe if you don't release them, maybe you can kind of say, hey, we have some trade value. All 3 of these guys had pretty solid starts last year. You know, which one would be the odd man out? Hard to tell, but that's another situation I'd watch for as well. And I think we'll see hopefully more in-season stuff. You know, that's what I think will be more important, because with a lot of the signings, I think there's a lot of questions on, you know, there's gems in the rough, but which gems in the rough do become actual gems?
Right.
And so then you can kind of talk over like, all right, guys from last year, who maybe are we moving over? Mm-hmm. You know, what roster needs something, and we see this guy not getting utilized, and we can grab him, you know. And then again, the draft pick situation, which hopefully if there's a trade with a draft pick, that might also clarify a few things on that.
Sure.
Too. Hasn't happened yet, but it could, as long as we get one trade showing up soon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, either way, it's fun to see the off-season stuff. This one, I don't think it was even on my radar anymore. After we didn't see a trade in the first season, I did, you know, not that I ever dismissed that we could never see it. I just didn't think about it. And so, yeah, you know what? It's nice. We're having episodes weekly, and you know what? You know, we're going to be here next week for Halloween. Hopefully there's news. Hopefully there's some news. If not, we'll talk about something else. Speaking of which, Zach, you know what did come out?
What did?
Chainsaw Man, the anime.
Oh, yeah.
Every Tuesday. So I've only seen the first episode, but the second episode's out now. Drops every Tuesday. I'm sure it's somewhere else, but it's on Crunchyroll. But it was sweet. It's sweet, Zach. You should check it out. It's pretty gnarly.
All right. I might get a free trial subscription. We can make that like our next off-season, off-topic and like end segment. So can consider that the next one. I am definitely going to be looking into that.
Good. Hey,
I like
speaking of off-season, off-topic, you know, last episode I was a little bit down on the Pistons. To start the game yesterday, I was a little bit down on the Pistons. To end the game yesterday, I'm a little bit hype about the Pistons. Sign us up. Going 1-0, baby. We pulled it out. Defense is looking pretty good. They need to tighten some things up. But what I liked about it is they didn't let them – they were down by like 15 or 18 in the first quarter. I was like, great. Same old Pistons. Same old Pistons would have given up. They would have said, okay, that's it. We're done. And just took the shellacking and moved on to the next game. This team fought back. So in the second half, we ended up getting like a 5-8 point lead, which went back and forth a little bit. But, hey, we held the game. We held it out. We didn't give up the lead. I got to love that. And then the Astros, Zach, we were talking about this. Everything's good in my sports world right now.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is.
One of the best baseball games I've ever watched. 2 full baseball games worth of innings with one run to decide it all. 18 innings, Zach. What a flipping gauntlet. I mean,
It's insane.
I loved it. Anyway, so that was my off-season off topic. We have plenty to talk about here.
That's just insane. I'm just happy. I guess if I'm doing my own, it would be Bulls basketball's back. Credit injury woes still persist for Chicago. So that's all I've really got. And then I get to be sad about Chicago with the Bears every week. So now I'm waiting for Monday Night Football and they play New England.
That's a game you should win, though. But you know what? I thought the same about the Lions.
You say that, but I am not. There's no confidence there. I definitely picked them to lose by 2 scores.
That's why I told Bruno Reagan, from the Bandits fame. He was on Twitter during the last Bears game. He said only the Bears, and I can't remember exactly what he said. I said, the Lions would like to have a word with you, but I did say. But yeah, you're right. Somehow the NFC North always finds a way. And they do, Zach. Other than those stupid Packers, FTP. Anyway.
FTP, man.
FTP.
Always FTP.
God.
Oh man, folks, we got a great interview for you this episode as well. We talked about Dave Rosano. He's making some signings for the Bandits. Well, one of those signings came up recently, and we got a nice chance to talk with him. It is Daryl Adams Jr., tight end, formerly a receiver, coming from Azusa Pacific College. Also played out there in Austria in the AFL for the Graz Giants. So pretty unique conversation. For those that know me, I love my international scene of football. So this one I looked very much forward to. And he's got quite the story and journey as to how he got to this stage and what he expects to do in the Bandits offense. Take a listen here on this recent interview I have with Daryl. Welcoming everybody into the latest edition of the USFL Podcast one-on-one interview series, bringing you some of the folks from around the league, players, personnel, you name it. I sit down with them and bring it on to you for our editions of the USFL Podcast. Joining me this week for this episode here on the USFL Podcast's interview series, I bring in a brand new signing for the Tampa Bay Bandits, one that will be playing at the tight end spot, and somebody who's been playing overseas and making quite an impact before coming over here for Tampa Bay and joining Todd Haley's roster. It is Darrell Adams Jr., who is a grad from Azusa Pacific and also played for the Graz Giants in the AFL. Daryl, welcome aboard the show. First off, just want to say congrats on your signing. Glad to have you in the league.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great to see you joining up here. And look, there's a lot of hype around you getting signed here. And I had a few buddies of mine say, you got to check out this kid and see what he's done. And I'll say the highlights speak for themselves. I want to kind of might as well just jump in. You're coming over from the Austrian Football League. You grew up here, of course, in America. You're one of the folks that internationally went abroad and got a chance to be one of those international spots on a team out there in one of those leagues. Tell us about the AFL, your experience. You've been there. You've done 2 years out there from what I can tell.
Yes.
So how was time out there in the Austrian Football League?
Well, it's a culture shock to begin with.
Okay.
But I would say it really helped me grow, not just as a person, but as an athlete, because, in that environment, in that situation, you're kind of alone, right? You go out there, you're unfamiliar with the culture, with the territory. And so you have to take it personally as a challenge. You come there, you travel all those, thousands of miles to perform, and you want to put on a show. You want to show why you're an American import, as they call it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that was my plan since I stepped off the plane. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I said, I'm going to prove that, I am better than anybody that you line up in front of me, and I will rise to the occasion, and I will be the best version of myself. And so that's what I really focused on, maintaining my strength, working out, still putting in that work with my offense coordinator, with our quarterback, and so forth like that, getting extra work. And then, coaching as well, helping out with the youth. It really elevated my game because, I realized I had people looking up to me. A lot of the youth players and stuff, they were very supportive at the games. And this, of course, you want to put on the show for the fans. And, it was a very supportive cast around it. So I just enjoyed it. And again, I knew the plays would happen. I just had to continue to put in the work like I did all my life.
Yeah, you know what, I'd like to, if you don't mind, care to elaborate, because I think a lot of people don't realize when you go over to the international side of this, when you go across the pond, or not saying Canada, I'm talking you go to Europe, you go, at least those countries out there. A lot of those are club leagues, unless you're the ELF, and a lot of times you are kind of like you're the ambassador of the sport, and you're kind of you're teaching up basically people that want to see what American football is all about.
Right. Right. So I would say with that, again, it becomes a standard. You have to hold yourself accountable, and you have to understand the weight and the pressure that, it comes with it. There's already pressures of just playing sports and wanting to play at a high level. But when you go there's a certain expectation. Okay, he is an American import, so we want to see that he's more athletic, he's more fast, he's more physical than everyone around him, and you have to live up to that. And so for me, I always believed that internally that I was that. And so it wasn't a hard shift to just go over there and play my own game. And I feel like that's why I was so successful, because, I stayed true to who I am and what I always have believed about myself. And, but yeah, there is a lot of high expectations being an American import.
Mm-hmm. What can you tell me about your quarterback, Connor Miller? American Football International listed you guys as arguably the best in 2021, that is, as the best receiver quarterback duo in the AFL. What does that connection with him for you help you in terms of how you were able to bring the best possible you to the table?
Well, we just had a good, I would say a triangle relationship where it was me, him, and our offense coordinator every day in meetings. I mean, I kid you not, at least 5 to 6 hours a day, we were watching film, game planning, trying to strategize of ways that I could get the ball, ways that, he can give me the ball, and scheming against different opponents. And so when you have that work that's being put in behind the scenes, and you have a guy who's willing to go out and do that with you, it makes on the field, gameplay very easy. And so I would say with Connor, the relationship really was built off of the off the field work that we put in, because on top of running routes and doing all that, we just were trying to be students of the game, and we studied each other, and we, once we learned each other tendencies, where ball placement for him and how run my routes, and at what depth I would be at, and certain things like that, it made it a lot more easy on the field, let's say. And so it's just kudos to him as a quarterback, and my offense coordinator as well, Brendan Gorsuch. He really is a mastermind. That he said, okay, I'm gonna take Connor, I'm gonna take you, I see what you can do, I see what he can do, and let's try to make it fit for this offense. And so it was just a great situation overall.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it definitely, that was a dynamite duo between you guys. So I definitely, I've been watching highlights. I've been, it gets dazzling. I can understand how that, helps propel. And, the work clearly was being shown off on the field, at least in terms of what you were doing practicing off field. I want to take a step back in terms, just before we go to the USFL and kind of just asking you some stuff, because I don't want to miss this part. Your journey, even just to get to the AFL. I had a 925 Sports, I believe it was. I had read up a piece that they had done on you. Just kind of your high school to college journey is something that really is, I think, is fascinating, definitely worth telling. I mean, you would, from what I understand, you went multiple scouting events. You had an unfortunate situation with sitting out a season, but you still were getting offers for D1 schools, like in the Pac-12. I mean, care to elaborate? I think people would love to hear your story, just kind of going through the college scene just to even get here.
Right. Well, it's been a reoccurring scenario where all my life I was kind of the underdog, and I always had to fight to prove my belonging, especially coming from Oakland. It's rough, and it's a city where the odds are stacked against you. And so, a lot of praise to my mother for just the way she brought me up to be very resilient and persevering. And so in high school, of course, I transferred after my sophomore year from Foothill High School in Pleasanton, California, to Stellar Prep in Oakland. And everybody was like, why would you do that? Foothill High School is this, big D1 high school where you got other prospects like Isaiah Langley and recruits. And, these guys, they're big names. And so a lot of people were confused as to why I did it and questioned me on it. I trusted my gut. I believe that, again, when all odds are against you, you have to depend on yourself. You have to rely on yourself. And so that's what I tried to do. I put my head down and I worked hard. And my new head coach, Desmond Gums, at the time, he made sure, I said I want to be the best version of myself at that time. And he said, okay, then we're going to work you like it. And we're going to make sure you're in front of as many eyes as possible. And so he did a great job as far as getting me to all the camps, everything like that, introducing me to a lot of coaches and scouts. And so all I had to do was perform. And again, when you're playing with that chip on your shoulder and you're a competitor, I love competing. And I know whatever environment I am, I'm gonna rise to that occasion because that's what competitors do. And so for me, it was no issue to go from a different school and make the transition and still play the same game that I'm accustomed to playing. And I would say, so after that, I had to sit out my junior year due to transfer rules. And so that was tough because, your junior year, they always tell you that's the most important time for recruitment. Mm-hmm. And again, my head coach just made sure that even though I didn't get to play that season, that I was in front of as many eyes as possible. And, it was even one time where we made a day trip from San Diego back to Oakland, all in the same day. We drove there and back just so that I could go to the San Diego State camp, and on top of that, it was like an hour and a half commute to school because I was still living in Pleasanton. So it was just intense. And, I feel like that type of struggle, I call it, or whatever, it builds character. It builds that poise, what you need and what you will face in football, in the game of football. It's a lot of ups, it's a lot of downs, but it's never about where you're at, it's where you're going. That's the way I look at it. And so, once that happened again, I kept working and I got my first offer to Arizona State University, and other offers followed after that. And so it was just a nice feeling to see those, offers come in and your hard work kind of pay off. And then Azusa came along. I took a visit there, and it was just a different atmosphere, a different environment. And I knew, it wasn't Division I. It was D2, but I felt like it's a place I could call home. And again, I'm so big on growth and development as not just as a player, but as a human. Because again, it's not just what you do on the field, it's what you do off the field. And when you're pushed into that role of being this star athlete, you have a responsibility to carry yourself the correct way. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like Azusa Pacific would have, allowed me to do that, which it did. It definitely molded me and shaped me into a better man. And so, I feel like God's purpose, and from that standpoint, was what it was and what it was meant to be. And, it just kind of sucked that my year coming out of college, that COVID hit, because of course we had our pro day coming up, and I was invited to a couple of pro days with the Raiders, with the Packers and Chargers, and they were all canceled because of COVID. So again, it was another situation that I never got to be in front of, the eyes that I needed to be. And so my mindset, for a couple of months I was down. I was very disappointed because I really wanted that shot, and my ultimate goal is to make it to the NFL. And so, I got down with myself. And again, at the moments when I'm always at my lowest, my mother always came, by my side and just told me to keep going. And, trust the process and it will work out. And so that's what I did. Kept working, got back connected with my personal trainer, Victor James. And we got back at it, got back in the gym, got back in the field. And then I was like, okay, well, an opportunity came where Graz was like, we'll offer you to come play over here. And I knew nothing at the time about playing ball overseas. I didn't even know it was a thing. And so when that opportunity was like, I have a love for the game of football. So however I can play the game, wherever I can play, I'm going to play it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to prove to you why I shouldn't even be here, why I should be somewhere else. And so that was the approach I took from the moment I signed the contract. And from that moment, it worked in my favor. And so I was just fortunate enough to have like a good quarterback like Connor and have a offense coordinator who was willing to, give me the ball, put me in the right positions and, really scheme for me. And so any highlights, any stats and stuff like that you see, it's not just me. It was other things behind the scene.
Yeah. Sometimes the road less travel, it sounds like, is maybe the right option.
Right. Yeah,
and,
very much so.
And I think something I think we always talk about. I don't usually, I don't always talk about this is, maybe, sure you get an offer, but that doesn't mean it's the right choice for you,
Right.
Like maybe you see something you want and that's, your decision comes first, of course, and so I completely understand that, and how that path is. And I mean, you're still here now,
Exactly.
Even with some of the adversity of the COVID issues with canceled tryouts, canceled workouts and things like that. That's got to be fantastic. Something I got to ask, I mean, how did Graz reach out to you? Do you have an agent? Do they just, they email you, someone meet up with you in person happeningly, or?
So once I had that talk with my mom, I was in grind mode. Once, actually my former college quarterback, Chad Jeffries, he graduated when I was a sophomore at Azusa. He went to go play over in Europe and Germany at the time. And right before I went, about 2 months before, he was like, dude, you need to still be playing football. He was like, look, you can come play ball over here. Here's the website, europlayers.com. You create your profile, do all that. And man, he said, some team is going to reach out to you and want you. And so I create the profile that same, like an hour later, put my stats up and everything from college and so forth. And then I just started reaching out to as many teams as I could. I mean, easily it's a lot of teams. I reached out to at least 100 plus, like just, hey, my name is this, this, and this. I play here, I'm willing to work, whatever the case may be. And then, a lot of teams were like, they didn't know much about me. They were like, you got good film, but who are you? So forth like that. And so, when Graz came and was like, we're interested in signing you. We believe, that you can be the guy to help this team, this organization. And I just jumped right on it. And after having my Zoom meeting with the head coach at the time and the OC, I was like, I'm sold. I was like, this is a place where I can go. And I know that I'm going to become a better athlete, that I can be tested upon how much I am loyal and committed to this game. And that I can just work hard and really be brought upon a new journey. And so, europlayers.com for any athletes out there who want to continue playing ball, europlayers.com. You just make a profile and some team will give you a shot.
Yeah, that is a good resource. I can definitely back that up from talking with others for sure. And I'll great shout out to this. If anything, I'll make sure we link that in our video description and also in our tweets and social media, because it is a good one. I mean, people, It is a constant source for those club leagues or even the ELF. Out even beyond that, I think even some Japanese teams might use that as reference if they want to pull from Europe. So, and if you trust me, if you want to go up and up, Japan's kind of like that tier 3 kind of bull, even right there. So you don't want to miss out on that either. But yeah, that's a great resource. So good stuff. And I mean, look, it led to you having some awesome seasons out there in Austria. And now you're going to be in the USFL in 2023. And I want to dive into this. You're going to be with Todd Haley, and also with newly signed general manager Dave Rosano's squad. When did they reach out to you? What was the process like? And also, I noticed you are going to be listed as a tight end. Where's the change coming in?
The change is because, I feel like, again, I'm a guy who you put me in a scheme. However, I can create mismatches for defenses. That's what I want to do. So I just want to be used as I want to be a threat on the field. And so if I can be, the more I make myself valuable as a weapon, that you can just give me the ball, you can plug me anywhere, and I'm gonna make something happen. The more successful and the more eyes that the more I get noticed. And so that was the thing that where me and my agent Vince, we talked about it like, this might be the move. Yeah, you're a standout wide receiver. Again, you have the stats, but at the same time, if we put you at tight end because you're a bigger receiver, it would be, a lot of mismatches. And so I was like, you know what? I'm all for it. I'm not against it at all. Whatever can give me the best shot to go to the league, that's what I'll do. And so the transition was pretty easy because, most of the things that I had to practice on was the blocking and just getting really, really technical sound with that. And I've been doing that for about 2 months now since I made the switch. And I've been working with some great guys that's been teaching me a lot, watching a lot of film on other great tight ends in the league right now, such as Travis Kelce and George Kittle and, Kyle Pitts. And so I'm really studying these guys. And again, my trainer, Victor James, he has me in the lab, we call it, every day. And so we getting work done. And so I feel very comfortable and confident the more that every day goes on as far as making the position switch. Lining up inside, a lot now in today's game is not like a traditional tight end anyways, which is, just hand in the dirt. You're lining up slot. You might go outside wide, and it's just about creating mismatches. And so that's what excites me. And, again, I kind of consider myself a very nasty receiver. And so when it's time to block, I'm trying to put you in the dirt. And so in the words of my dad, put him in the dirt. And so,
right.
I look forward to it. And, the team reached out to me. The director of player personnel reached out to me. I believe it was probably like a week and a half now ago. And he just, let me know that he was interested in me and that they seen my film and they were impressed with it. And they believed that I could, create mismatches for them and help the offense out this upcoming season. And again, I was foaming at the mouth at the opportunity. And once I heard I could get this shot, I've been waiting to be in front of the right people and, show what I can do. Again, going back to having that chip on my shoulder. And, now that it's come true, we coming to this point, it's just like, most people would consider it as a deep breath they can relieve now. My stress is no.
Right,
I'm taking it as, okay, I'm here with the same mindset of I need to prove not only that I belong, but that I'm better so that I can get ahead. And so I'm just excited and I feel really blessed and fortunate to be in this situation, but I feel as though I'm gonna maximize it.
Yeah, I mean, you get to come home, you get to be with you're going to be under a head coach that has been, has been mostly successful at offensive production in the NFL
right
for many a years. I mean, even last year, if we want to talk about USFL in general, you're joining a team that led the league in passing yards.
Right.
Tampa Bay was very much air heavy. I feel, I mean, you're getting an archetype where, yeah, you're practicing blocking, but they're bringing you in, it sounds like, for hands. And also I'm feeling like it's trying to be like a Kyle Pitts type of kind of archetype where it's like, yeah, I'm a tight end, but I'm not the traditional tight end. I am pretty much a receiver that's a bulkier version of that with some, a little bit of length on me.
Exactly. You said it best.
That's how I'm seeing it. And I think Bandits fans will be excited, whoever you're going to be practicing throws with. I know there's still some uncertainty with the contracts, but no matter what, I mean, Todd Haley's going to give you some opportunities as long as you like you're saying, work hard, which I have no doubt you will based on your background. I'm looking forward to see where you go this off season. I mean, what is the organization giving you any, and you don't have to, if you can't reveal anything, I understand, but have they given you any, like, I guess, check marks or checkpoints as to where this is where we're going to be here, then here, Then, some point next year will be, of course, starting like April or so, like we're hearing. So, where are you at going next, I guess?
Well, I'm training right now in the process, and I just know that from the talks that I had with the team and certain staff members, camp will start in March.
Okay.
And so I'm in the phase where I'm doing everything I can to make sure come March that I'm more than ready for that moment and to seize that opportunity. And I got it marked on my calendar.
Nice.
As far as the scheduling for the season, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. They haven't told us about that. But within my contract, they let us know that in March we'll be reporting for camp.
Okay. Well, excited to see you report to camp here. Daryl, again, congrats on being signed on to the Bandits. And Bandits fans are going to be thrilled to have another weapon to bring to hopefully a playoff appearance this year, maybe even more.
That is the goal.
Just missed it. So definitely they're going to be hungrier next season. I can only imagine. But thank you for your time. Wishing you the best of luck, and hopefully have you on some other time. And we'll be talking about you as the season gets kicked off this April.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking time.
Special thanks to Daryl Adams Jr. again, stopping in, doing a one-on-one. I love doing these conversations with players and personnel. And seriously, his story, like I said, it's fascinating, having to, taking, I guess, the unique route that was best for him coming out of college. And it's paying off. Mm-hmm. He's widely considered one of the best receivers in recent years out in Austria. And now he gets to play as hopefully an explosive offense, pass-heavy tight end in an offense that, Todd Haley really did well with Cheyenne O'Grady last year. And so even if Grady's back or not, I mean, they have a guy that has an explosive talent set under his belt, and they're getting pure receiver talent first and foremost out of him. Looking forward to watching him play. I'm expecting a few touchdowns this year.
Yeah. And it's, it's kind of cool. We're starting to get interviews with the new players, right? We've spoken with players that have played already. We've spoken with coaches and even general managers now, technically speaking. We spoke to Robert Morris, or you did specifically when he was director of player personnel, but he's a GM now. All right. So now we're getting the future stars, and I anticipate we'll probably have a few more before the season starts, especially as, more signings come and, the draft, baby, that flipping draft. Oh boy. Good times.
Oh man. I can't wait. Just like how I can't wait for the thing that is currently in my hand. And clearly I did wave scissors across the screen so you can see what I'm holding.
Oh yeah. And well, some people had a sneak peek too, because when we started recording again, it was sitting on my lap a little bit high. So you saw this much, but we've alluded to it, right? So our friends at Royal Retros, they hooked us up. They said, bros, we got a new collection. We want to send you one. We want to get your real deal input, your thoughts, all that good stuff. And you know what? They came through. They hooked us up real fast. But then it was on me. On me, I took a little while sending it to Zach. But here we are. We finally got it. Like I said, I have held mine in the package until just now. Zach, go. You know what? You first. You get to open it up and display yours.
I feel like a kid on Christmas right now. Like I'm gonna cut this open. I haven't touched it since it got in the mail, so like I have to fully get through opening this bad boy. Oh, that opened pretty easy right there. Oh, it's exactly what I want. And for guys, you guys know I'm gonna get a Panthers jersey. But the thing is, it's about who I'm getting. It's a custom jersey, so I have to pick a player that, I feel like I got to rep, someone that is my guy. And if you guys know who I've interviewed so far through the series, through the first year of the USFL podcast, my guy, Terry Myrick, I had to get a custom of Terry's jersey here, number 44. We met his dad at the opening weekend during Easter. Real chill guy, loved the show, actually recognized us. And seriously, Terry, and your family, I wish you the best. I'm going to be repping you very much so for the weeks to come. This will be worn week 1 at a USFL game, or at the very least during Spring Stock 2023. This will be part of my decor. it's going to be part of it.
Hell yeah.
Very nice job. And it's fully stitched. That's what I love too. Fully stitched jerseys are the best jerseys.
Oh yeah. Now
hands down.
pull it center frame because the way we have the cameras pulled up. Yeah, now there you go. Now, yeah. So all of this is stitched, the names, the numbers, everything about it. You got the sleeves going on too, right? They do the sleeves.
Yes. Yeah, these you can see it's like the traditional Panthers sleeve. You got the white, the light blue. Only thing I don't see, and it really isn't as present on these on the Panthers jerseys. There's really no champagne silver, but I mean, I get what I want here. You know, it's real nice. It's a lovely jersey.
Right.
So,
Right.
Like you said, we love Royal Retros. They do good stuff. This is good quality stuff here. I can already feel it. Easily going to be one of my favorite pieces of my jersey decor. And I have a lot of alt jerseys that I have bought over the recent years.
Well, that's why I love wearing alt jerseys is you find the cool people in your neighborhood. Like you go to the grocery store, somebody that watches alt football is going to know who any of the USFL teams are, right? And they're going to call it out when they see it because it's not like you see somebody walking around with an AAF jersey or a USFL jersey every day, right?
Exactly. It's a story piece. It is a story piece, and it shows off your fandom, and it spreads out. If you really want to be that way, it's kind of a billboard towards the league. You can kind of like advertise it indirectly if you want. You don't have to be that. You can be chill about it.
For sure.
But, you know, if you like your passion for the league, these are good stuff. And like we say, Royal Retros, we guarantee we buy things from them. They are great. You know, the guy who runs it, we had a great time. Actually, had week 1 with him. They do good work.
Plus, go on.
I love this.
Well, I mean,
I was just say I love this.
Not to mention, you can save 10% off using coupon code USFL Podcast. Any purchase on the site. So let me go over. Again, people kind of saw the hint, so you could probably figure out what team it is just by the McDonald's colors here, but you probably couldn't figure out the player. Now this one, I went back and forth because Zach, you said I'm surprised you didn't get a Clayton Thorson. I'm a little bit surprised myself,
right?
But you know what? It comes. I will probably buy one at some point. And so I wanted to get a jersey that I don't know if I'll ever buy a Stars jersey. Not that I actually kind of like the jerseys more than I expected. But also, dude, there was one guy during that season that showed up, and that was Case Cookus.
Oh.
I mean, when he came, when Brian Scott got injured, there was, I think, a lot of worried fans on the Stars for the Stars. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Case Cookus came out, and had he not gotten injured in that championship game, we very might well be looking at USFL champion Case Cookus. Now, I saw him on my flight on the way back from summer stock and the championship. I decided not to bother him. I figured that he's probably one injury. You just lost the game. You don't need someone coming up and saying, hey, how you doing? You did great in the game. He knows he did great. He knows he has that MFing dog in him. And that's why I think at the end of the day, I got the Case Cookus. Plus, honestly, it is the red and the yellow. There's a reason Hulk Hogan and McDonald's use red and yellow. It's unstoppable. I kind of like it. I might hang it down here in the back of the room, but that's probably after I go wear it out a couple times to the local establishments around here. See if anybody notices. Honestly, I almost thought about getting one that just said the ref on it, but I figured I can't be that's an ego beyond that. That's a problem point.
I feel well, and look, he deserves a bunch of praise. I mean, he honestly was. If he starts the year, you could maybe argue he has an MVP campaign going for him on that regard. And I think that really just him having a later start to the season is what held him back possibly from getting one of 2 nods.
100%.
So, I'm if and when he returns, which I mean, I'm leaning that he does return just based on, I think that there's some stuff to go and prove, after the way your season ends in Canton, Ohio. I think that he's on for even more, another special year with the USFL. Bart Andrus and them got something going right now. It's nice. And again, the colors pop, in Philadelphia. It's surprising. It actually grew on people as the season went on. The reveal, it did get a lot of stuff for the ketchup mustard vibes.
Right.
But like in action, it was one of those jerseys that people went, this actually slaps pretty good. Along with the helmet having that like almost like caution type of
yeah,
almost construction worker vibe of look. It worked really well.
I mean, I like their logo too. I actually like the Stars whole kind of get up. It's you know what? It's refreshing. This is the same reason I like the Maulers get up. It's different, right? You could look at a lot of the other USFL jerseys, and they could be compared to just an NFL jersey, a generic jersey. You can't say that about Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. Interesting. I don't know if I ever put that together. The two standout jerseys are from one state, that Keystone State battle. They got, it's interesting. I don't know if I ever put that together. Either way, Royal Retros, one, thank you, bro. Sorry.
Thank you.
Honestly, sorry that we took so long to even review these, because I know he had sent them out quite a while ago. But hey, if you want one of these, this is part of their remix collection. So they have like retro jerseys. They have remix ones that look more towards the teams now. But again, they also have like aesthetic. XFL, World League of Football. I think they even have like baseball and hockey stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they have like a Hartford Whalers jersey on there, which
they
I gotta want that.
Have that. I know they have a Whalers jersey on there for sure. I've seen that. I think San Diego Seals, if I remember right.
Right.
So and the ABA stuff too. If you want to check any of that out, they have a lot of ABA gear.
Right. So hey, yeah, if you just like retro stuff, just for the heck of it, if you like our show, just go check out their website. You don't need to buy anything, but if you do, boom, 10% off USFL Podcast when you check out. Get signed up there. Man, what an episode, Zach. I feel like, going into this episode earlier this week, I said, well, you know what? We got the jersey reveal. Hopefully some little bit of news comes out. Boom. I felt like this was some boom news. We got boom left and right. First trade. I'm loving it. GMs. I'm loving it. McDonald's jersey. I'm loving it. You know what I mean? Sign me up.
Another real good week. Yeah. Another good week to talk about the league. I hope it keeps coming. That's I think for us, we love getting on here more often, getting to discuss. And I think the league's happy that they get to reveal more stuff as a little quickly. I think a lot of us weren't expecting stuff to happen until really November, but we're getting nice surprises this month.
Oh,
it's real great.
100%. And I mean, I feel like now that the wheel's moving a little bit, it's not just going to stop. I feel like we'll get some steady news. Maybe not every week. I don't want to make that promise. I don't know. Maybe we'll have something to be thankful for in November.
We can only hope.
We can only hope. I'll tell you, I'm going to be in the Illinois area during that Thanksgiving week. I'm going to be northern Illinois.
Okay.
But have we ever talked about Frankenmuth, Zach? Do you know what a Frankenmuth?
Yeah, I've actually been.
Oh, very good.
I really love Frankenmuth.
Yeah. So we're doing it's kind of a gauntlet of a trip because we have to go around the lake. I don't think we're doing a ferry or anything. I don't even know if there is in the winter, but whatever. We're going around and we're taking the trip from northern Illinois around the lake and up to Frankenmuth. I'm so hyped. It's been easily a decade, probably more, since I've been to Frankenmuth. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I want the chicken dinner. I want the sherbet dessert at the end.
Yep.
I want to go see the dancing clock, the big cuckoo clock thing that they have.
Yes.
They got rid of the arcade, though. I saw the penny arcade's gone, which is kind of a bummer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because I used to love going in there as a kid because they have like the Nickelodeons, funny enough, right before Nickelodeon was a thing. It was a little machine. You put a nickel in it, you turn a crank, and you see some old-timey flip show that was like either a cartoon or a silent movie.
Well, remember, it's a perfect way to get ready for Christmas, too. I mean, got one of the world's largest Christmas store.
Oh, hell yeah. And you
just down the road.
I'm going to Bronner's. I might go sit on Santa's lap and tell him that I want Houston to be a USFL hub this year. Even though, and he's going to say, I don't know if you've been that good. I said, get over it, Santa. What's your problem talking to me like that?
I expect things I was hoping you could deliver.
Shouldn't have leaked those XFL names, the ref. Oh, give it up, Santa.
Oh, there's the coal. Yeah. That's what the coal's at.
That wasn't very nice to do. Oh, give it a rest.
Dwayne's pole, he's got connections.
I was actually thinking of changing my name to Santa Brahma.
Santa Brahma.
The Brahma Claus. Anyway, we're getting off topic now.
Good God. I think it's a great way to go.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if there's any coming back from that. So I don't think there's any parting words from you. I think I said my parting words, but here's the news, folks. We're going to be back next week for a good Halloween episode. Hopefully we have some news to talk about. Otherwise, off season, off topic, maybe some speculation zone. Here's the thing. If you want us to talk about something, hey, you know what? Drop it down in the chat. Maybe ask us a question. We'll put it in the mailbag. We'll let you decide the fate on that one. But until next time, everybody, sign you up.